Right. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks very much indeed to Chris for the introduction, and for all of you for agreeing to put up with me for the next 40 minutes or so. Just to check, the time that I have for this, Chris, is about 45. Right? So we'll aim for 40 minutes. Yeah, it's a delight to be here and see so many friends and catch up. It's been quite a few years since I actually last came to a CDXC Convention, so it's wonderful to be here. I'd like to talk about this little project, WRTC, which I'm sure many of you have already heard about, and I'll explain a little bit about the WRTC program, a bit on the history, where it's come from, what it's all about, and then some of the more specifics about the UK effort in 2026. So we'll get straight into it. So just to explain a little bit about why we do WRTC. So in traditional contesting, everyday contesting, we question whether it's a bit of a fair game because there are so many variables in contesting, as we know. So we can have stations in the same category of a contest entering, and it's not really totally even. There are so many variables. Things like a station could be on a hilltop, have a geographic advantage, a benefit in some way compared to somebody that may be in a valley. We also have stations with very big stacked antennas competing with stations that are running maybe single element antennas, wire antennas. And we also have geographic sort of DXCC differences where somebody can be incredibly rare against somebody in maybe not so rare a country. And the other variable, of course, is operator ability. So these factors come in. So what if we were able to try and level the playing field a little bit? And all of the operators were in the same geographic region, on the same terrain, so on flat ground, no specific advantage. And if they all had identical antennas, they were limited to just 100 watts output, no amplifiers. And what if we also had a referee looking over their shoulder just to make sure that there was that it was fair game and there were no cheating taking place? Well, that's where WRTC comes in. WRTC is the World Radiosport Team Championship. Typically, it takes place every 4 years. There are some exceptions to that, but generally it's 4 years, and it follows the style of the Olympic Games. So it is really regarded as the Olympics of our hobby. It consists of a quantity of 2 operator teams. They are supplied with the same antennas and they are placed in the same geographic region. So what we're trying to do is eliminate the variables and put it purely down to operator skill so that we really do find out who the best operators are. So it's a test of operator ability. There is a sanctioning committee for WRTC, much like you see with the Olympics. And the sanctioning committee's role is there to set the foundations, to explain what the goals of the event are, set some sort of overarching rules that the organising committee in the new host nation has to follow. But the goals are really to publicise our radio sport passion, our love, this wonderful part of amateur radio that we enjoy. Not just within amateur radio, but outside amateur radio as well. So it's about building a foundation for the future of contesting. It's to facilitate these gatherings of radio sport participants that are experts in their field, and to promote the advances in technology. And we've seen some really significant differences. I was talking to a gentleman a short while ago, M0AGP, who was commenting about how CW contesting has changed so much over the years compared to what it used to be back in the 60s and 70s when the operating style was so much different. But all of these are to progress that desire to maximize your score, which is what contesting is all about. So we look at ways that we can do that in team operating techniques. We've seen the real-time scoring and the real-time logging now making more of a presence. And spectator viewing and education. So I was an example of somebody that came into the hobby because of this attraction of competing, and that is the case for a lot of people, especially in the younger generation. So we are now using WRTC as a harness for attraction for this new blood, using the contesting as a way to get them excited and interested. Log checking and reporting is something which, of course, has advanced tremendously, and we see now the turning around of results is so much quicker than it ever has been before. And of course, with WRTC, that is put to the real test. Operator ranking and comparisons. Again, this real competing aspect where people are being placed and doing some comparisons between why they are where they are. Is to encourage the growth of Radiosport worldwide, and we're focusing mainly on youth and young adults, and also to regions of the world that may otherwise be underrepresented in Radiosport. The 20-year vision from the sanctioning committee is to make this a premier international Radiosport event. And each WRTC that passes, we see advancement towards that, but there is still a lot more work to do. A little bit on the history. It's been around now for almost 25 years, almost 35 years in fact. Started in 1990, originally in Seattle. This is where the concept originated. It then moved to San Francisco down the coast, and then eventually came over to Europe in 2000, Slovenia, Finland in 2002, Brazil 2006. Russia was a bit of a change in that this was, I think, regarded the event that really focused on bringing it to a level playing field more than any other prior to that. And it, up to that point, had been operating from existing QTHs with maybe slightly different antennas, different setups, different geography where people could be, on hilltops compared to others. So Russia really tried to level that playing field, and it was portable operation at Russia. And then Boston in 2014, Germany 2018, Italy last year, and so we'll be the 10th host of WRTC in 2 years' time. This is the team. So we have an organising committee which consists of Lee, G0MTN, who's here today, who acts as vice chairman and also is heading up the director of the rules, so setting the qualification criteria and also focusing on the actual rules for the WRTC competition itself. Fred, G4BWP, is looking after our finance, making sure that the numbers are making sense and that we've got enough money coming in. Obviously, this is quite a costly project. The overall budget is about $500,000. Chris, G0DWV, I'm sure many of you know Chris, and he also is the RSGB advertising sole agent. So he is heading up our fundraising and sponsorship campaign to get the money in. Andy, G4PIQ, obviously very well-known contester and also quite a key member of the M6T multi-multi. Andy is looking after sites and stations, so he's responsible for finding 55 operating locations and also defining the hardware that we need and heading the team that will test and make sure everything is working as it should be. Steve, M1ACB, is heading up our volunteers. Of course, WRTC only happens with a number of volunteers, so Steve is taking charge of that, and of course we know Steve also as our national body RSGB's general manager. So he's in an excellent position to reach out to the volunteers nationally and internationally. Georgina, M6YGL, is our hospitality director. So Georgina is responsible for defining a program for the week of WRTC, finding a headquarters venue, and making everyone feel welcome, and planning the tours that we will also provide for everyone. So that's a big job. Two relatively new recruits to the committee. Philip, DK6SP, past WRTC operator, has been on many D expeditions, been heavily involved in youth. He serves as a committee member on WWROF. and Philip is going to be heading up our youth aspects and also helping out with some of the sponsorship. Andy M0NKR, again another RSGB figure. You see him at numerous events helping out with the RSGB. He will be joining the committee to help out with the sites and stations. So Andy came on board just a couple of weeks ago. We have an IT team that you can see there. We've got the tech team on media that will be at WRTC, David and Tammy, who help out a lot with the RSGB tech. They run the Tonight at 8 sessions as well. We have a North American fundraising team led by Scott Wright, K0MD, and our key points of contact into the sanctioning committee where we go to for any questions that we might have is through Doug K1DG. And then we have an advisory committee which we established to assist us on some key decision making, helping us with challenges that we face, and some very well-known call signs that I'm sure you'll recognise there, and Olaf is here today as well. I won't go through this in great detail, but this was the plan on the page that we established at the beginning of the project, capturing the key activities, much of which are ongoing, but there are different phases of them. We're tracking quite nicely on this plan. We're on schedule, but you probably can't read a lot of those work packages, but really what we're focusing on heavily now is finding sites and continuing on with the fundraising and promotion piece. Very shortly we're going to get heavily involved in the IT aspects and making sure that we've got a solid, robust hardware platform for the event. The HQ piece, which I'll come on to in a bit more detail, has been quite an involved piece of work. So Georgina's found a few headquarter possibilities, and she's had various meetings with them, and last year we down selected that and decided on the venue where this will primarily be held as from an HQ perspective. So we signed the contract for that headquarters venue in December, and we're working heavily now with the provider to firm up the plans. So some of the key activities so far. So we've been working since January 2023, so we've been going now for about 18 months. Initially, we built the committee. We had to convince ourselves that this was something that we felt comfortable that we could pull off. Like any project, there's risks and uncertainty, but we worked through that. We got a feel for our volunteer support levels, and we put a bid together which we submitted to the sanctioning committee in towards the end of March 2023, and that was a very busy period because there are so many unknowns, and I'm sure like every WRTC there's that apprehension, but we pushed through it and convinced ourselves that actually we could do this. We decided that we wanted to scale back the number of sites, the number of stations that we would offer. We originally scaled it back to 40 teams, and after discussion with the sanctioning committee, we raised that to 50. I don't think we want to go any further north from 50, but that's what we've settled on. We created obviously the core team for putting the bid together, and that went in. We registered WRTC 2026 as a community interest company with Companies House, so we are registered there. We're a non-profit organisation. We launched the website and the social media channels. They all went live at the closing ceremony of Italy last year, so we wanted to make sure that we were ready to go at the very moment that it was announced in Bologna last July. We defined the qualification criteria, and we made a few changes. There was a lot of data analysis that it was led by Lee and approved by the committee. Some changes that we made to the qualification criteria in the rules, and that was all announced in August, September time last year. We've been working hard to promote WRTC online on the social media channels, in the amateur radio press, to help educate and get people excited about the event. We've been to a number of conventions and shows. We recently did Visalia, Dayton and Friedrichshafen, so we're trying to get out there. We had a big push last year to raise quite a substantial amount of money to make a large donation to WRTC Italy for the acquisition of hardware for the sites, and we concluded that transaction in December. And we just took receipt only a few weeks ago of a container full of hardware, which I'll show you some images of shortly. So we've decided, we're the first WRTC to do that, in fact. So we decided to take on the hardware from Italy for our event. And we felt that with a 3-year time frame as opposed to 4-year, that was a very worthwhile investment. So I mentioned the HQ venue. Merchandise and memorabilia is well underway, and we've got that all live on the website. That's available. I actually have some of that with me today, if anyone's interested. And we launched the live standings database on the website. So this is where we can see where anybody in any country or any qualifying area is currently ranked compared to others in that area. So you can see where you are in terms of whether you're on track for having a team leader position for WRTC. And I think now we've got 4 contests on that now, 4 or 5, I guess. We've now completed 7 qualifying events. Lee, you can probably answer that, but I think we've got 4, is it? Yeah. The 2 CQ Worldwides and the 2 WPX contests, and ARRO is coming on shortly. So on the topic of qualifying contests, these are the qualifying events. So we have a spread that it started CQ Worldwide Sideband in October last year, and goes all the way through to some of the covering a number of the key HF contests. We've just had a IARU last weekend. It concludes with the ARRL DX SSB contest in March next year. So there are a number of points available for all of these contests, and you can see those there. We made a few changes. For instance, we introduced the 1,000 points for IARU, since it's the very contest that WRTC is held in next year, in 2 years' time. So I guess the main difference between this and what we saw previously is that we have less time. We only have 3 years, so we've scaled back the number of qualifying events. The category weighting, so this is based on the category that you enter, how many of those points are available for you to accumulate for your total score. And we see a spread there, and there's an explanation behind why they are what they are, but essentially you can gain the full number of points on offer for winning the single operator higher power category, and also the multi-2 low power category, which we've just had in the IU contest. And the reason that we decided to do that was because that is the very category that WRTC is, and we felt like it was worthy of offering a full 1,000 points for winning that category. The others are kind of spread, and as you'd expect, the multi-multi category is weighted at 0.7, so you have 70% of points available for winning that category. You can't accumulate all of your qualifying points purely by entering multi-op contests for obvious reasons, so it does require you to enter single operator categories as well. As I mentioned, we have 50 teams, so that is built up as you can see here. So we have 42 qualifying teams, 4 youth teams, and the youth teams qualify the same way, the only difference being that at the time of the event in 2026, they have to be aged under the 26. So we have a relatively high ratio of youth teams purposely, and we have a wildcard team position on offer, and that will be offered to somebody that didn't qualify, but you know what, they actually did very well. For whatever reason, they didn't quite make it. Maybe they're in an area that was very densely represented by other participants, but they scored so much more highly than other people that have qualified in other areas. So we'll make that decision when the results become clearer towards the end. And then the previous champions will automatically be invited back. So that would be VE3DZ and UW7LL, who won Italy. So they'll be coming back, and they can sit back and relax for the next couple of years. So they don't need to qualify. This is the breakdown of the areas. So we have all of the areas and the countries that make up those areas. We have introduced an area purely for the UK as the hosts. So Europe 8 is the UK area, consisting of the UK countries. So we'll have one team from the UK. And I can see there's a little bit of competition going on between a few people in the UK, which is great to see, and we'll be excited about who makes it. And then we've got other areas like Europe 6, for instance, which has a whole raft of countries spread across a larger area. You know, Croatia, Bosnia, Moldova. You can see there's a number of prefixes here in Europe 6. So for that area, we have 3 team positions available. So we've tried to scale it according to the population, the number of entrants there are from those areas. In some of the areas, we have introduced a sub-scoring tier, which basically means that they are in the same area. So for instance, the Baltics, we did this in Europe 1. So we have two team positions available in Europe 1, but for scoring purposes only, we've split out the Baltics from Scandinavia, largely driven by data and the differences in propagation. So purely for qualifying points comparison purposes, we've split those out. So the Baltics will compete with the Baltics, Scandinavians will compete with the Scandinavians, but there are only still 2 team positions available in that overall area. We've done that in a few regions of the world, and obviously, as you'd expect, in the more densely populated areas, the number of team positions available is reduced. I mentioned referees. Every team will have a referee, and there'll be an application process for referees. The applications will become live next year for that, and we welcome everyone that's interested to come forward. And well, the referee will undergo a certain level of training so that they know how they need to make decisions, what they need to do if they observe something that isn't correct. But they have a really tough role, arguably tougher than that of the operator, because they have to sit there listening to 2 stations operate, one in each ear, potentially mix, cross mode or both on CW, and they have to listen to make sure that the operators aren't identifying themselves in any way, so that they the guy at the other end that they're working doesn't know who they are. So you eliminate this cheerleading aspect. And on sideband, of course, you may get recognized, but there's no, you can't deviate from purely making the QSO. You can't say hello to people, you can't tell them who you are. So the referee has to remain completely focused. I hear stories from some referees who say, you know what, I hear a busted call coming every so often, and it's so frustrating because I can't go on and say, yeah, you've made a mistake. And so it must, I think it's, I really think highly of the referees. They have a really tough job and do amazingly well. So anyway, bottom line is, do not cheat and you'll be fine. So a little bit about youth. So we have these youth teams. This is an image here of Al, Jamie and Philip, DK6SP in Italy. And so we'll have 4 teams that will be purely youth. Alan, G4DJX, has agreed to help us out with that youth aspect, and him being a headmaster locally puts us in a great position for that. So we'll organise some school visits and trips to get them involved. We'll get them involved in some maybe construction, get them on the air, do some operating, and use WRTC as an opportunity to get them interested and harness their excitement around the contest so that they can follow the Olympics of the hobby over that weekend, tell all their friends, will do foundation courses when they go back to their school. And Philip, as I mentioned, will be instrumental in coordinating that youth piece. And what we're going to do also is at the headquarters venue, we will have 2 WRTC style operating stations. We're using exactly the same antennas, and one of those will be available for visitors to operate. The other will be purely a youth station, where they can get on and take part in the WRTC contest unofficially, but see how they get on, get them excited, and hopefully they'll be operators in 2030. That's the idea. Where will it be? Well, the sites themselves will be located in Suffolk and Norfolk, and we need 55 sites, 50 for the teams and 5 as a contingency, so we're operating at roughly a 10% contingency. And we may need to use those other sites for reasons like station or noise, QRM, QRN, or any other issues that may emerge. We would like to, as much as possible, have the sites so that they are in clusters where possible. And what I mean by that is that we'll have maybe 4 or 5 stations separated by at least 500 meters. And we can get away with that because we're just talking about 100 watt stations, no amplifiers, so 500 meters is fine. And that helps us with in a number of ways logistically. It means that we can have a spares pool looking after those cluster stations, and also with human resource we can have a site manager maybe looking after a few sites. We can have a team looking after a few sites. It just makes it a lot easier rather than having them all completely separated. We're looking for sites such as back gardens that are big enough, orchards, farmland, conservation land. If anybody has any contacts in those areas or knows somebody that can help, please let us know. Field day site locations may be of interest, maybe more so HF field day locations rather than VHF, given they're generally on hilltops, but they would also be potential sites. This is a typical site, so this is from Russia, 2010. Consists of a 30-foot mast with a tri-band Yagi and dipole antennas for 40 and 80, an operating tent, generator, and a site team to support them. On the left here, this is from Finland, where the operators would have gone to an existing shack and done the contest. On the right-hand side, this is Russia, so this is the portable field day style, where WRTC as the hosts would provide, as I mentioned, the antennas, the rotator, the coax, the tent, the generator, food and drink, a site team, and a power meter, and the IT infrastructure. So we provide all of that. The operators come along with their radio gear, with their filters, with their logging machines, and they plug all that in, headsets, and that's it. So they're responsible for bringing along what they feel comfortable to operate, but we give them the everything that they need to plug into. And you can see UA9MA in the background there as the referee doing his job. This was myself and Olaf in 2014 at Boston, which was such a fantastic event. It was really well organized, and we had a great time. And without Olaf, I would have been completely lost because he's the brains behind the technology. And we operated there with K3s. It worked really well. And you see some of these really amazing, innovative ideas that come out at WRTC because everybody's trying to get that competitive edge. So here on the right, you can see this is Crassi and YT6A's switching Peli case. This is where they had all the band switching and the filters. A fantastic concept, which I'm sure worked very well for them. So you see some really interesting concepts coming out. We set the base rules, and then it's up to the operators to then come up with their own innovations to maximize their chances of doing well. Last month, we took receipt of the container from Italy with the hardware. So we had 50 tri-band antennas. So these are 7-element Yagis, 3 on 10, 2 on 15, 2 on 20, manufactured by LZ Antennas. And they all arrived with 50 rotators, 50 masts, which were very heavy, and we were extremely tired, and 50 site kits, 50 lots of 3 times 50 meters of coax, and all of the guys and everything that comes with it. and the masts are very well manufactured, galvanized masts, incredibly heavy, quite well made actually. We were very impressed with those. And all the coax, all the rotators and the sight kits. The sight kits consist of some wireless technology for the score reporting. So there's a Wi-Fi unit, some cellular hardware, and also the power meters, because of course each station will have a power meter. A couple of LEDs on there. Green LEDs is that you are within your 100-watt limit. Amber is you're right on the line. Amber's okay, so everyone's aiming for amber on this little box. Red means pull your power back, you're over 100 watts. So that the referee's role is to make sure the output power is always maintained within that 100-watt limit. So the site testing will be commencing actually earlier than this, but a key part of that is that we will run the IAR contest in 2025 as a dry run. So we'll put roughly 5 stations on the air, test the stations, test the hardware, and we'll make the logs public for everyone to have a look, because obviously not everyone's familiar with the propagation from G. We'll use the reverse beacon network to see how strong we are on CW across the world, and that gives us the ability to eliminate any that are particularly strong or weak and not consistent with the other sites. And the HQ venue, obviously there's a number of things we look for in that. We need somewhere that offers good conferencing facilities, on-site accommodation, has good transport links to the airports, for instance, good IT infrastructure, we can live stream, and as I said, we have found the venue. We're not quite ready to announce it yet, but that will be happening soon. The schedule for the week is something like this. We're expecting around 500 people in total. There will be an opening ceremony, much like you see at the Olympics. We'll have a number of meetings to brief the competitors and the referees and answer questions. We'll have tours to Bletchley and Duxford, no doubt, all in the local area. And we'll have the stations that I mentioned. W1VE is also going to be setting up some remote stations for us to operate around the world. So we look forward to that. So each team will have 3 envelopes that they will draw. One will be for the site, so they'll randomly select their site. They have no idea where they're going to operate from, so they'll pick their site. The second one will be for their call sign, and the third one will be their referee allocation to them. So they will not know what call sign they use until about 5 minutes before the contest starts, and at that point they program all their CW keys, their voice keys, and they're ready to go. The idea is that nobody around the world knows who is linked to that unique call sign. Then, of course, we have the contest itself, and then the log check-in adjudication process kicks in, and we have to turn around the results within 24 hours. So there's a really big effort to process the logs and eliminate all the busted calls and find out who the winners are. There'll be a live scoreboard, which will be on the website, so you'll be able to see which operators are in which position at any given time of the contest. What we won't do is announce which call sign they're operating, so that you can have a link and association between that call sign and who the operators are. There will be a media team, as I mentioned, that will be doing interviews all through the week, live streaming, visiting some of the sites. So WRTC is going to be something this time that is made available to everybody around the world, rather than those that are actually in the UK at the time. I mentioned volunteers. We need a large number of volunteers, so anything from people that can help us with building antennas, building the stations, manning the stations to assist the operators over the contest weekend, driving operators to and from their site, and then also helping out at the headquarters venue with the logistics. The WRTC event will last a week in total, so it's not just the contest, there's a whole raft of things going on. And it really is a wonderful opportunity for the UK, and that's one of the reasons we're working very closely with the RSGB, because it's also a great opportunity for the RSGB. So it's great to put us on the map and get some of these real big contesters, really well-known people to the UK, so that we can socialise and learn from them as well. Fundraising is a big job, and we're working with a number of corporate leads and also radio clubs and organisations. Thank you, CDXC. You're already on board as a sponsor. We really appreciate that. Individual sponsors has been massive for us. We've been very impressed with the number of individuals that have come forward. We've got 2 sponsored teams also. That is a source of revenue. That may grow. We'll wait and see, but we'll start off with 2 and see how we go. We've got the tent sponsor program. This is where an individual, group of individuals or a club can come forward and sponsor one of the 50 tents. We've already had a number of those allocated. We'll be running raffles, auctions, and of course we're left with all this hardware at the end, which is an opportunity for us to make it available initially to those that have supported us at a much reduced rate, and as you've seen, the quality of the hardware on offer is rather good. We have our Morse keys, which are produced by Phil, CT1ILT. I've got some here if anyone's interested. Save on the postage fees if anyone wants one of those. A few of them that are in production there. We've got the merchandise, which is available on the website now. Sweaters, t-shirts, mugs, hats. I'm starting to see them appear at the various radio shows, which is great to see. And by the way, we get a donation from everything sold on that merchandise. The coins. So we've got a coin program whereby contributions of £100 this year gets you the bronze coin. It's a very attractive coin. I have one. Actually, I have a quantity here if anyone's interested to have a look. So the bronze one this year, the silver one next year, and the gold coin in 2026. So rather a unique opportunity to be a part and also help us out as well. Number of sponsors already on board, as I mentioned. Great to see CDXC up there. And I can't put the individuals on, there's so many of them, but they're all on the website and we're immensely grateful. Right, that's me done. Thanks ever so much for listening. Really appreciate it. It's a great opportunity for the UK. I'd call on you if you are interested. Please come forward, get involved, and I'm sure that you'll remember it for the rest of your lives. Thank you very much. Are there any questions, please? Okay, Tony here. We just need to get a mic to Tony. Thanks.
Thanks. I wonder how you're going to ensure the noise will be the same at each site.
Yeah. So that's a great question. So we'll a number of different methods. I mean, we mentioned the contest that we'll do, but we're actually going to be installing some receivers at the sites that will track the noise floor over a period of time. So obviously, you know, noise can just sort of spring up, can't it, in certain times of the day, or at certain times of the year. It can be worse than others. So we'll be installing some receivers that will record that, and Andy will be looking at the results of that. So we're looking for a consistent low noise floor across all of them. Anything where there's a higher level, something emerges, they will be eliminated as a site. If that happens during the setup or the running of the contest, can't really do it during the running of the contest, but the operators will have a chance to operate before the contest to test the site. If anything's not looking good, they'll be taken to one of the standby sites. Yep. Tony, here at the front.
Hi, Tony Canning. Mark, you said you've got 50 sets of kit. You say you've got 50 stations. I mean, you've got these reserve stations as well. You haven't got enough kit.
That's right. Not at the moment, we don't. So we, our friend Crassy, K1LZ, is donating a quantity of additional antennas. We have some more rotators that will be on the way, and masts. Our standby masts are likely to be scaffold masts. We can get away with that because obviously the height of the antenna is the most important thing, and so we'll have some standby, but I can't, unless we have a complete disaster, I can't see any of these masts actually becoming unusable, and we'll have plenty of standby coax available, so we've got more than enough, and actually more than 55 planned. Yep. Any other questions at all before we wrap up? But by all means, please come and see myself or Lee, who's here as well, and be happy to have a chat. And if you'd like to come forward as a either an individual sponsor or offer your services as a volunteer, I'd be delighted to hear from you. Thanks very much. Have a great day.